We have Zion Aleph.
I just have to know, by the way, do you notice the thumbnail images I put on the videos that I post to
Yes,
the?
yes. Some of them are very cute, and most of them are very cute and funny.
I have I have a lot of fun doing it. You know how I do it? I'm using Midjourney, the AI image generation.
I never heard of that. I don't know.
Yeah, these are all original artworks.
I asked my son-in-law about the IA business, what this whole thing is. You know, I know how it works. We've done some silly things with with you make a message, you tell it to do it this way and do it that way. You know, it's funny. But I really don't understand. I mean, that's a dangerous thing. It could really end up causing a lot of problems. That's what it seems like. You know,
Once I learn more about how it works, I'm like completely untroubled by any kind of worries that AI is going to take over the world. It's completely there's no intelligence to it. There's no it's smoke and mirrors.
Mhm.
Um, just not to take too much time away from Mishna, but basically what it does is it's a large language model. Just talking about ChatGPT, for example, it's a
Right.
large language model. And when you ask it a question, what it does is it has this massive database of words, just of words, and it knows which words are normally found in sequence. And then it'll say, okay, what's the next word? And it sticks the next word in. And then after that word, what's the next word? And then it's this iterative thing where it keeps on following through and like seeing probabilities of which word is the next one correct, which means it's not about truth. It's about probability. It's about plausibility. More to the point. ChatGPT's job is to have a conversation with you that sounds plausible. Don't trust it when it tells you something as a fact,
Uh-huh.
because it's not the super genius that knows everything. It just has a bunch of words that it knows normally fit together. That's all. That's the very dumbed down version of what ChatGPT is. Anyways, let's do Bechoros.
Um, these blemishes, whether permanent or temporary, render a man unfit. To them must be added in the case of man, one whose head is wedge-shaped or turnip-shaped or hammer-shaped, and whose head is sunken or whose occiput is flat, hunchbacks. Rabbi Yehuda declares them fit, but the common declare them unfit. A bald-headed man is unfit, who is regarded as a bald-headed man. Whoever has no ring of hair circling from ear to ear, but if he has, he's fit. If he has no eyebrows, or if he has but one eyebrow, he is the given mentioned in the Torah. Reb Dosa says it is one whose eyebrows hang down. Reb Tigidot says one who has two backs and two spines. The Charam is unfit. What is a Charam? One who can paint both his eyes with one movement. But his eyes are set high, or both eyes are set low, or one eye is set high and one eye is set low, or he focuses on the lower story and the upper story simultaneously, or who cannot bear the sun, or has unmatched limbs or watery eyes is unfit. One whose eyelashes fell out is unfit for reasons of unsightliness.
Okay. Carrying on, the types of mumim that disqualify. Kohen, Einav Gedolos Kashel Egel. He's got over large eyeballs. Or Kitanos Kashel Avaz. They're large as a calf or small as a goose. In both cases, that's considered a mum. Gufo Gadol Me'evarav, or his body is disproportionately large for his limbs, or Katan Me'evarav, or disproportionately small for his limbs. Chotmo Gadol Me'evarav, or he's got an abnormally large nose, or Katan Me'evarav, or too small a nose. Hatzimeim v'hatzimeya. Okay, so we're gonna find out what tzimeim and tzimeya are now. Ezehu tzimeya. A tzimeya is she'oznav katanos, where his ears are too small. But tzimeim she'oznav domos litzfog. He's got cauliflower ears. His ears look like a sponge. Which yeah. I just remember the first time we learned this Torah and talking about the guys who used to get into fights and yeah, okay. Svaso ha'elyona odefes ala tachtonah. If his lower lip protrudes beyond his upper lip, v'tachtona odefes ala elyona, or his upper lip.
You said low. Oh, maybe you started saying if the upper lip protrudes over the lower one, or the
Yeah,
lower
both of
one
them.
beyond the upper one. Right.
In both cases.
Right.
Shinav. If his teeth have been removed, pasul mipnei maris ayin. So if he's had his teeth all extracted, that's not an actual mum, but again, it's a rabbinic mum because it just doesn't look nice. Dadav shochvim keshel isha. He has man boobs, as they call it today. He's and once we're talking about people who are overweight, kresot tzava, his belly is distended. Taburo yotze, or he's got an outie, as they call it. His navel protrudes instead of going in. Nichpe afilo achas leyamim. If he has a nichpe, it means that he falls to the ground. He has fainting spells. Okay, even if it's not common. Ruach katzris ba alav, or he has a ruach katzris, which is
Depression.
Depression, yeah. Wow, imagine depression being a mum. That would puzzle half our generation. The hamaushkan. Ma'ushkan, now you see we'll see this discussion in a second. What is ma'ushkan? But if you look at the root aleph shin chaf, there's we're going to see merach ashech. Okay, ma'ushkan means is somebody who's got extra large testicles or scrotum. Or bal gever, or one who's got an extra large male organ. Ein lo beitzim, or if he lacks testicles. Or ein lo ela beitza achas, or he just has one testicle. Now that's interesting because we already said that that's a mum by an animal. So we should have said, okay, well, I mean, if it's a mum by an animal, we already know that's a mum by a kohen. But the reason why the Mishnah mentions it over here is because that particular case is what zehu meruach ashech ha'amor b'Torah. When the Torah uses the term meruach ashech, that's what it's referring to. It says the Tanakama. Rabbi Yishmael omer kol shenimrechu ashachav. No, he says the Merach Ashech. You didn't need to mention this in the Mishnah. He says the Merach Ashech that we're talking about is someone who has crushed testicles, not missing testicles.
We have that in a different Mishnah. Also, we have that in a different Mishnah. Talks about not being able to do something. Not
yeah, once somebody has crushed testicles, we're talking about, is he allowed to be married?
Okay.
That's the thing, is that somebody with the crushed testicles is not allowed to marry into the Kahal Hashem. So he would have to take a wife who's a convert.
That has to do with propagation, because he may not be able to reproduce.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay. Rabbi Akiva omer kol sheruach b'ashachav, and Rabbi Akiva says the term meruach ashech means that basically that his testicles are bloated and full of air, and that's the definition of the word. Okay, Rabbi Chanina ben Antigonus omer kol shemarav chashuchim. He says no. This is somebody he says got nothing to do with testicles. He says it just means that the kohen looks dark or black. That's what meruach ashech is. He's got a skin discoloration. I don't think it's somebody who's naturally got dark skin. It's somebody who's got some sort of affliction that makes his skin an unnatural kind of dark. Anyway, the argument about the terminology is just academic, because in any case, all of these things are actually mumim. Hamakish bakar salav, somebody who walks and his ankles knock together. In other words, he's bow-legged and his ankles hit each other. Or conversely, if he's bow-legged, if he's knock-kneed. Or bal pika. Now, bal pika va-akel. So what's bal pika and an akel? So we're going to explain now. An ikel is kol shemakif parsosav, where his feet so when he puts his feet together, then his knees don't touch each other. So again, that's another definition of bow-leggedness, it seems. And what's a Baal Pika? So Pika is Yotze mi gudalo. See, he's got some sort of protrusion coming out from his thumb, or from his big toe, like an extra finger. And which is this is the explanation according to Rashi. It says that a pika is coming out from his thumb or his big toe, but the Rambam says no, it's talking that this is still talking about the ikel, and the pika yotzem gudola is talking about he says that's talking about what Rambam is explaining, that a pika yotzem gudalo is still talking about the ikel. Akevo yotze la'acharav is talking about the is the wait, hold on a second. Ikel is the shemakit parsa sav ein akav sav noshkos zo, and pika. So the Baal Pika is talking about yotze megudalo or akevo yotze me'acharav. Other cases are where his heel protrudes backwards, so that it looks like his leg is coming down into the middle of his foot. Or parsaso rechava keshalavaz, or he's got extra wide feet. So I didn't get the Baal Pika. So when we were talking about right at the beginning of the Mishnah, we were talking about the Baal Pika. The Mishnah comes and explains later that it's talking about something that's coming out of his thumb or from his toe. Then there's a separate case, which is his heel dipping backwards, pushing backwards, or his foot being flat and wide. Etzba'osav murkavos zo al zo, or his fingers are distorted so that they're resting one on top of each other instead of being in the normal sort of side-by-side position. Or klutos, klutos meaning that they are conjoined, that there's there's sometimes you get a case where the skin is joining between two fingers. You have extra webbing. Okay, ad haperik, until the first joint. Okay, up to the first joint is kasher. The matam in a perik, but if it goes further than that, and even if he cut it, the matam in a perik b'chatacha, if he cut it, then it's still kasher. Haisa bo yaseres, if he has an extra finger and he amputated it. Im yesh ba etzem pasul, if it had a bone in it, it's still pasul. Im lav kasher, if it was just like a skin flap that looked like an extra finger and he had that cut off, that is not a mum. Yaser biyadav uveraglav, if he has extra fingers or toes. Sheish v'sheish, esrim v'arba. So now what happens if he's got an extra finger but it's symmetrical? And everywhere he's got 5 fingers, 6 fingers, and six toes. Okay, Rabbi Yehuda Machshir, he says that's fine. It's all symmetrical. I'm not considering it a mum. Chachamim poslim, no, sorry, 5 is the required number. Hasholeit b'shtei yadav, somebody's ambidextrous. Rabbi posel. So Rabbi Yehuda Anasi says that this is an indication that his right hand is weak. If he's got equal strength in his left and right, and that's a mum. Chachamim machshirim, Chachamim say it's not a problem, because what this means is that his left hand is just extra strong, and he's got an extra level of dexterity. Hakushi, here is someone whose skin is black. Vagichor, and somebody who is completely pale. Right? Sorry, it's red. Gichor is red. Vakipeach. Sorry, I missed the lavkan. Lavkan is his skin is excessively white.
Oh, that's an albino, right?
Yeah, albino. Yeah. Okay, Kipeach is somebody who is very tall and lanky and thin. Okay, Bananas is a dwarf, and Cheresh is some. So now there's an argument among the Rishonim about about what is this Cheresh talking about. Is it talking about the Cheres who's like our normal Mishnah, who can neither hear nor speak? Or is it just talking about somebody who's deaf, but is still able to speak? Also, a shote, somebody who's unable to take care of himself, that's also a mum. A shikor, that's a temporary mum in a coin. Is somebody who's drunk, even if it's not on wine, even if he's drunk on beer or other non-wine beverages. Or bale negaim tahorin, or somebody who's got a nega that has been declared tahor, because let's say, for example, it failed to grow. We know this from negaim that if he gets a nega, he gets secluded, and it just doesn't grow. Then the nega is declared tahor. Okay. Basulim ba'adam. These are not. This coin would not be allowed to serve with all of these things. Or kasherin babahema, this is not a disqualification for an animal. Okay. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel Omer shota babahema eina mina movchar. If you have an animal that is just like completely stupid and shows that it doesn't have the normal intelligence that an animal has, it might not be a mum, but it's not mina movchar. You shouldn't bring this as a korban. Rabbi Eliezer Omer af bale dildulin besulim ba'adam. So dildulin is pieces of flesh that are sort of fall off from their body that's just flapping off. This is also a puzzle with it's puzzle for a coin. Ukesherin babahema, but an animal that has a loose flap is not considered a mum, and it can be brought as a korban. Okay. Bechoros daled ches.
If one is suspected of sabbatical year violations, we may not purchase from him flax, even comb, but we may purchase from him thread or braided ropes. Excuse me. If one is suspected of selling truma as ordinary produce, we may not purchase from him even water or salt. These are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. Reb Shimon says, whatever has a connection to truma and ma'aseh, we may not purchase from him. One who is suspected of sabbatical year violations is not suspected of transgression the laws of ma'aseh. One who is suspected of ma'aseh violations is not suspected of sabbatical violation, year violations. Okay. All right. That's it, right?
There's one. Sorry,
I finished.
Yeah.
One who is suspected of both these violations is suspected of transgressing the laws of Tahara. But in some cases, one who is suspected of Tahara violations is not suspected of violation of this one or that one. This is the rule. Whoever is suspected of something may neither judge nor testify concerning. Okay. Now that's it. Cooling. Okay, base hay. If one slaughters an animal or beast or a bird and no blood came out of them, they are kosher. They may be eaten with ritually contaminated hands, since they have not been made susceptible by blood. Reb Shimon says they have been made susceptible by the slaughtering. If one slaughters a dying animal, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says it is not valid unless it instructs a foreleg and a hind leg. Reb Eliezer says it suffices if the bird's forth blood. Says Reb Shimon also, one who slaughters at night and rises early the next day and finds the walls full of blood, it is valid because it's spurted blood, which is in accordance with Reb Eliezer's opinion. The comment, however, say it is not valid unless it jerks a foreleg or a hind leg, unless it wiggles its tail. The same rule applies both to small animals and to large animals. A small animal that stretched out its foreleg did not draw it back. It is invalid because the only is an indication of the expiration of life. When does this apply? If it was presumed to be dying, but it was presumed to be healthy, even if it has none of these signs, it is valid. If one slaughters for a Gentile, his slaughtering is valid. But Reb Eliezer declares it is valid. Said Reb Eliezer, even if he slaughtered so that
the birth glow,
Sorry.
Did I say something wrong?
Okay, go ahead.
Even if it's slaughtered, it's so that the Gentile should eat from its diaphragm is invalid because the unexpressed intent of a Gentile is presumed to be for idolatry. Said Rabbi Yossi, the matter can be proven by a forte reasoning. If the place where the intent renders it invalid, in the case of sacrificial animals, everything depends solely on the one who performs the service. A place where intent does not render invalid, in the case of non-sacrificial animals, is it not logical that all should depend solely on the slaughter? Okay?
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
1, 2, Yud base. Reb Elazar ben Shamu said, "Let the honor of your student be as dear to you as your own. The honor of your colleagues is the reverence for your teacher, and the reverence for your teacher is the reverence for heaven." If Yehuda says, "Be meticulous in study, for a careless misinterpretation is considered tantamount to willful transgression." Reb Shimon says there are three crowns: the crown of Torah, the crown of priesthood, and the crown of kingship. And the crown of a good name passes them all. Bechoros says, "Exile yourself to a place of Torah and do not assume that it will come after you, or that your colleagues will cause you to remain with you, and do not rely on your own understanding."
Okay.
And we're going to Gittin base. Payment may not be taken from assigned property, even if there is unassigned property available. Even if they are of the poorest quality, payment for the property of orphans may be taken only from the fields of poorest quality. The payment may not be collected for the consumption of produce, or for the improvement of property, or for the support of the wife and daughters from assigned property for the sake of the general good. One who finds a lost article need not swear for the sake of the general good. Orphans who rely upon a householder, or if their father appointed administrator for them, is obligated to type their produce. An administrator appointed by the orphan's father must swear, and if appointed by the court, he need not swear. Abba Shul says the reverse is true. One who ritually contaminates another's food, or one who mixes it with truma, or one who offers another's wine as a libation for idol worship, if he did it inadvertently, he is not liable. Deliberately, he is liable. Kohanim who deliberately render an offering in the sanctuary pickle are liable. And we are into Solid. One who writes 2 letters in one period of forgetfulness is liable, whether he wrote with ink or orpiment, or with vermilion, or with gum, with ferrous sulfide, or with anything that marks on 2 walls forming a corner, or on 2 pages of a ledger that can be read together, he is liable. One who writes on his skin is liable. One who scratches on his skin, one Elliot holds him liable for a sin offering, and Yeshua exempts him. If one wrote with liquids, with fruit juices, or in road dust, inscribes dust, or anything that does not endure, he's exempt. If one wrote with no back of his hand, if one wrote with the back of his hand, with one foot, with his mouth, or with his elbow, if one wrote with one letter alongside a written letter, if one wrote over another writing, if one intended to write a chet, that wrote two lions, if he wrote one letter on the ground and one letter on a beam, or if he wrote one on the 2 walls of the house or on 2 pages of a ledger, that cannot be read together, he's exempt. If one wrote a letter as an abbreviation, then Rabbi Yeshua ben Sarah holds him liable, but will come and exempt him. One who writes 2 letters in 2 periods of forgetfulness, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, Rabbi Gamil holds him liable, but the sages exempt him.
Yeah.
Okay. And
finally, Taurus.
Okay. And uncertainty concerning sacrificial offerings, if a woman has a possible obligation because of 5 doubtful cases of childbirth, 5 doubtful cases of ziva, she brings a single offering and may then eat sacrificial foods, and the other offerings are not incumbent upon her. If there were a sheretz and a frog in a public domain, and similarly, if there were an oversized piece from a human corpse and an olive-sized piece from a nevela, or a bone from a human corpse and a bone from the nevela, or a clod of soil from Tahor land, and a cloud of soil from the base of Pras, or a cloud of soil from Tahor land, and a cloud of soil from the land of the nations, or 2 paths, one Tameh and one Tahor, and one walked on one of the paths, and it is not known on which one of them he walked, or formed a roof over one of them, and it is not known on which he formed the roof, or he caused one of them to move, and it is not known which of them he caused to move, the Rekivim Rusim Tameh, for the Kechamen Rumim Tahor. If one said, I touch this object, but I do not know whether it is Tameh or Tahor, or I touch one of the objects, but I do not know which one of them I touch, the Rekiva Rusim Tameh, but the Kechamen Rumim Tahor. Rabbi Yossi rules in Tameh in all cases, but rules in Tahor in the case of the path, for it is the way of people to walk, but it's not the way to touch. Regarding 2 paths,
We're done.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Have a great day. Enjoy. Shabbos is coming.
Shabbos is coming.
Yes. Okay. Be well. Have a good one. Thank you.
Bye.